Hi and welcome to the next tutorial. In today's lesson we'll learn how to recreate this cool looking website using HTML and CSS. So anyways guys, let's jump in. So here we have an example of the website that we are going to create. We've got a simple navigation up here which have some cool rollover effects. We've got an icon in the top left hand corner. We've got an image for the background and some text in the middle of the page. Now, to set this up, we are going to be using Dreamweaver, but before we do that, we need to set up our folder structure. So here is the folder structure that you need to follow. You need to have an index.html file, you need to have a style sheet, and you need to have a folder with your images. My images, I have a background, and I also have a citylogo.png. You can make these in Dreamweaver if you want, or you can just download the files from the links below. So anyways, now let's get into Dreamweaver and actually get started. So now that I'm in Dreamweaver, the first thing that we need to do is I just need to change the title. And so I'm gonna call this one City Design Website. You can change it to anything that you want. We need to add in within the head section, we need to add in our style sheet. So to do this, we need to open up link, REL, and you can let Dreamweaver do most of the writing for you. You just have to find the right stuff that you need to put in there. So this is going to be our style sheet, and then I'm going to put href, and then we're going to link it to our style sheet.css. Now if you don't see this, this means that you haven't saved your files correctly, or you don't have it in the right structure. So please make sure that you get that one sorted properly. So once you're done with that, you can save it. It's not really going to do anything, but what we need to do is we need to come over here to the body and we need to start adding our div sections. So the first one that we are going to add, we're going to add a div class, and we're going to call this class wrapper. And then we're just going to close that off. And so now you can see that the div has automatically created the end div as well. So we'll try and keep within that. So the next thing that we're going to add is we are going to add a div class which is equal to logo, and this is going to be for our image, and we're going to add our image in there. So I'm just going to put that div a little bit lower like that, and inside of here I'm going to add our image. So it's going to be img src, and then I'm going to go into my images folder and I'm going to click on city logo png. And then I'm going to write our alt text, which is just going to be logo. And then I'm just going to close that bracket and I'll hit save. The next area that we need to focus on is the nav area. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to create a list. So I'm going to start off by pressing UL, and then I'm going to write class is equal to, let's say, nav area. And then once I do that, I'll just give us a little bit of room in there, and then I'll start with my LIs. So I'll put LI in there, and then I'll put inside of LI a href, which is going to be our link. Now because we don't have, or we won't be building all the pages here, I'm just going to put some dummy links in here. So basically, if you want this to be your home page, it will have to go to index.html, but I'll just keep it all like this with hashes for now, and then we can maybe change that later. So once we've got that, then we need to close that bracket, and then we can write our navigational links. And once we've got that, all we need to do is just duplicate it for how many times you need, and then you can put all of your links in there. So I'll have home, services, and portfolio. So once I've done that, then we can go and add some text. But now let's see how this actually works. So I'm just going to bring this back up. So now I'm just previewing my site, and you can see all my links down here are, links that you can see right over here. You can see we've got our city logo PNG that's up on there. And basically I'm just previewing this in Google Chrome. So if you can't see this, then you can always, come down here and you can always preview in Chrome, or you can just save the files and then just reload it inside your Chrome to make sure it has the latest version of your website that is showing. So the last thing that we're going to add is we're just going to add another div class for some welcome text. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put it down here underneath these two div tags. And so I'm just going to open it up. Div class is equal to welcome text. And then I'm just going to close that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that div at the end. And then I'm just going to write some stuff in here. So we're going to have a heading 1 tag, and then I'm just going to write, let's say, city design. And look, if I save that, you can see what is happening here. And then after that, then I'm going to have a paragraph tag. And now I'm just going to write some text. So welcome to the city design website. So the last thing that we're going to add is a link to a YouTube channel. So we're just going to start off with our href, and then we're going to come over here and we're going to write http youtube.com/smc online 1. And once we've done that, then we're just going to close that off and we're just going to write YouTube channel. So this is the text that will appear on the site, and this is the actual link. So now when I save that and if I refresh it over here, you can see all of our elements for our website are up. We've got our H1 heading, we've got our paragraph text, we've got our YouTube link, which takes us to SMC Online 1, and then we've got our links over there. Now we have to design it up and, add the styles to it. So going back to Dreamweaver, we need to now open our style.css. And so now if you've clicked it and you've linked it correctly by using this code, then you should be able to see your style.css in there. Now the first thing that you need to have for your style sheet is you just need to set it up like this. In CSS, these curly brackets are the things that allow us to write the code in. So everything must be in between these two curly brackets for whatever you're designing. And the other thing you have to worry about is the semicolon at the end of certain things that you put in. So you'll see it as we move along, and we'll just get started. So the first thing that we need is we're just going to make sure that we can put our fonts in there. Now I've gone to Google Fonts over here and I've picked the font that I like. I like Montserrat. So all I need to do is just click on the style that I want, and I need to basically link it within my HTML code. So we need both of these codes to get this font to work. So the first code, I'm just going to copy that and then go into my index.html file, and then I'm going to make sure that I'm in the head section, and then I'm just going to paste it in like that. Then, so firstly I'm just going to save that, and then I'm going to go back into my style.css, and then I'm going to add my font family, Montserrat, and I'm going to put it into this section here. And so once I've done that, all I need to do is press save, Control S, and then we can start to add things on our CSS document. So the first thing that we're going to add is we are going to add our dot wrapper. So once I've got the dot wrapper, I then need to open and close the curly brackets, or really you just need to open it and Dreamweaver will close it for you. And we're going to add some properties. We're going to add width, and I'm just going to press enter, and then I'm going to write 1170 pixels. And then the next thing that we need to do is we need to add a margin. So all I'm going to do is just find margin, press enter, and then I'm just going to write auto. And so once I've got that, then I need to just close it with the semicolon. I can click save, and if we refresh, you can see that it's using the font Montserrat and nothing much has changed. So we're gonna work through this with CSS. So now the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna add a body, and basically we're gonna open and close our curly brackets, and we're gonna write background. So we're gonna use the background image. And so the way that we do this is we write URL. All right, so I just click on that, and then I go into my images folder, and then if I go to background image and then end it with a semicolon, you can see what actually happens here. You can see the background image is in the background. So Now what I want to do is I want to actually add a linear gradient to this so that we can get because it's still very bright, so we just want to darken it a bit. So what we need to do is, well, firstly, let's just set it up. So the first thing that we want to do is I'm just going to go to height and I'm going to write 100 VH, and then I'm going to go to background size, and I'm going to write cover and then semicolon, and then I'm going to write background position, and then this is going to be center, and then I'll write another center, and then the last one will be position, and I'll have it as relative. So now if I save that, if I refresh, you can see that now we've made the background image, make sure that it goes to the entire page. So now once our background is up, actually it's a bit too bright, so what we want to do is we want to make it a little bit darker, and we can do this by using linear gradient. So we're going to come back into our first line of code, and I'm just going to write linear gradient, and then I'm going to open the brackets, and I'm going to write RGBA, and then I'm going to open the bracket, and I'm going to write 0, 0, 0, 0.7, and I'm just going to get rid of one of those brackets over there, but I'm just going to copy and paste that. And so once I've done that, then what I need to do is I need to press comma at the end of it, and then I'm going to paste what I just had in there, so it will be the same value over here, so again 0.7, and then I'm just going to close the brackets. I'm going to put 2 brackets in there so it closes it on both sides, and then I'm just going to make sure that my URL is still on the next line and it's got the background image on there. So now if I save that, and if I refresh that, you can see that my background now has this nice gradient over the top of it. And if you want to change some of the values, so let's say for example I change this to 0.6, all right, you can see what is happening there, like it's getting lighter. So let's say I change it to 0.8, and you can see how dark it's getting there. So maybe we can go and change it to something like that, and you got to find whichever one works for you. But in my case, I think 0.7 is a good option. So now once we've had that and everything is ready to go, we can move on to the navigational area. So I'm just going to come over here, and then I'm going to write some new lines of code in my CSS. So it's going to be .nav area, and then I'm going to open and close my brackets. And now what we are going to do is we're going to add some stuff in here. So the first thing we want to add is float, and the float is going to be on the right hand side. And then the list style will be none. And then we move down into margin top, and we're going to put it as 20 pixels. And then we'll have padding also, padding right. And from the right hand side, it will be around about 10 pixels. So now if I save that, and if I refresh this, you will see what is actually happening here. So, well, you can't really see it too much there, but you can, if I zoom out a bit, you can see all my navigation is now pushed to the right because we're using, you know, a few lines of code in here. So that's pretty cool. So now we'll keep on going. So the next thing that we're going to add is our nav bar again. So I'm just going to write nav area, but this time I'm going to write li, open and close our brackets, and what we are going to write is display, and inside of display we are going to have an inline block, and then we'll just close that off. So when I preview this, you can see now that we've separated it and put it all on one line. So that's looking pretty good. So now we just need to dress it up a little bit more. So the next thing that I'm going to add is I'm just going to come over here and write nav area again. And then this time we still need our li, but this time we're going to put a. And then so I'm going to open and close our curly brackets. We're going to change the color to Now color is spelled in the American style, so there's no U. I'm just gonna set it to white. And then what I'm gonna do is write text decoration. And I'm gonna set that to none. And then close that off. And then I'm gonna have some padding in there. And I'm gonna put 5 pixels. And then I will press space and write 20 pixels. And then I'm going to write font size. Now you can change the font size to whatever you want, but I'm going to put it at around 14 pixels. And if I click save, you can see that we have our nice buttons over here and they're all in white and it's looking pretty good at the moment. So now we're going to add our hover effects. So to add the hover effects, what we need to do is we need to open up the nav area again. So nav area, and this time it's going to be LI, A, and then it's going to be hover. And so this time we need a colon and then we just need to write hover. And then once we've got that, what we need to do is we need to open up our curly bracket and then we need to put in some of our colors in here. So I'm just going to write background, and the background is going to be white. So I'll just put 3 Fs like that. And then the color is going to be, we'll just put #333. And this is like a grayish kind of color. And then I'll just close that off and then hit save. And then we'll see what we have. So now we've got a nice working, it's got like the hover effect over it and it's looking pretty good. So now we have to change up a few things as well. So we're going to work on the logo. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to come over here and then put .logo and we'll write IMG. We'll open up our curly brackets and we're going to write the width. Now if your logo, if you want it to be bigger or smaller, you can change all that stuff here, but I'm going to keep mine at 150 pixels. We're going to set the float to left. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some padding. So I'm going to add some padding to the left hand side, which will be, let's say 5%. And then what I'm going to do is add some padding for the top. So if I come down here and if I maybe put like 2%, something like that, and then close that off, press save, and let's see what happens. So now you can see that we've, pushed this logo all the way to the edge over here. And now we have to add some other things for it. So the next thing that we need to add is, because the logo is in black and white, and basically I got it from this website here, flaticon.com. And you can change it in Photoshop if you want, but you can also do it in CSS and it's pretty cool. So if you just come over here and if you just wrote filter, and then if you wrote invert, and you can play around with some of the settings that they have. So there's many settings inside of filter, but I'm just gonna go with invert, and then I'll just put 1, and then I'll just close that off. And so now if we preview that, you can see that the logo is in white. And that's looking good. And let me just make that a little bit bigger. So now we've got the final thing that we have to work on, which is our welcome text. So we're going to go back into our CSS code and we're going to write .welcome text. And once we've got that, open and close our curly brackets. We're going to have position, which is absolute. Then we're going to close that off. We're going to add some margins to this. So it will be 20% and 30%. And then we'll close that off. And then text align will be center. So I'm just going to come over here, press center, and now I'll press save. And now we can put that text in the middle of the document. And what's cool with this is if you start to make this bigger or smaller, you can see that the text now, like things are moving. So this is now a responsive website, which is pretty cool. So now we just need to dress up a few things in here. So we're going to play around with some of the H1 settings. So we're going to go to welcome text, and then this time it's going to be H1. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have text align. So let me just put that down there. So I'll have text align, and we want this to be in the center. And then I'm just gonna change the color to white. So I'll just put FFF. And then I'm gonna have text transform. And we're gonna put it to uppercase. And this is where you can change the font size. Let's say we put this font size to, I don't know, 80 pixels. You can play around with some of this if you want. But if I save that, and then there you have, like there's our heading 1, and we're changing it in here. So maybe let's drop it down to 60, and that's looking pretty good. So the next couple of things that we have to add is now we're going to worry about maybe some of the text and this button down here as well. So the next thing that we're gonna add again is welcome text, but this time we're gonna go and write A. We're gonna open and close that bracket. We're gonna write border, maybe 1 pixel solid. I'll just go solid, and then I'll make it white, keep it consistent. Padding, I will put 10 pixel and 25 pixel. And then I'll have text decoration, which we will set to none. And then text transform. So I just need to put that semicolon in there and move this back over here. So text transform, I will turn this to uppercase, and you can do lowercase if you want. I'll have font size, which will be font size maybe around 14 pixels. And then I'll have margin top, which we will worry about. We'll write 20 pixels. And then display, I will have inline block. And then the color will also be white as well. So just FFF. All right. And so now if I save that and look at it here. So now on this button here, we've got this border on the button, and it's looking pretty good. So now we just need to add some of the hover effects, and it's pretty easy to do. So what we're gonna do is, I'll just put that to white. So there we go. Now we've got white text on there. So yeah, if you see anything red in here, for example, when it was like that, you can hover over the code and then you can see what the error is. So in my case, I left out that 1F. So now moving on to the last 2 things that we need to add. So I'm just gonna write welcome text again, and then this time it's going to be a hover. So I'll just add that in, and then open and close our curly brackets. And then we're going to have the same that we had in the code before. So the background is going to be white, and the color is going to be, I'll just press #333, so our gray color again. And so now when we preview that, when I go over this, it's the same as what we have up here. And so that's looking pretty cool, but we just can't read this text over here. So we're just gonna come back down here, and we're just going to add another welcome text. All right, and this time for our P tag, we're gonna open and close that bracket, and then we're just gonna write color, and all I want this to be is just white. Now, if you wanna change this all to uppercase or whatever, you can do that in here. But if I just save that and then refresh that, there you go. And that's about it for this tutorial. Now, I know this tutorial is pretty long, but it does show you how to build a first page for a website. Now, obviously these links won't work as they are, but basically to finish off the website, you need to take the same page design. So for example, your index.html, and then save it as about.html, services.html, and portfolio.html, and then add those links in there. And then if you want to click on your YouTube link, you can as well also. So anyways, guys, that was a short but long tutorial on how to make a quick website using Adobe Dreamweaver using HTML and CSS. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you guys next time.